Shalom, shalom. We start back up at chapter 32 in Deuteronomy. Give ear, O Shemayim, and let me speak. And hear, O earth, the words of my mouth. Let my instruction fall as rain, my speech drop down as dew, as fine rain on the tender plants, and as showers on the grass. For I proclaim the name of Yahu'ah, ascribed greatness to our Yahu'ah. The rock, his work is perfect, for all his ways are right ruling. An ale of truth without unrighteousness, righteous and straight is he. A twisted and wicked generation has corrupted itself, their blemish not of his children. Do you know this? Do you do this to Yahu'ah, O foolish and unwise people? Is he not your father who bought you, who created you and established you? Remember these days of old. Consider the years of many generations. Ask your fathers and let him show you, your elders and let them say to you, when the Most High gave the nations their inheritance, when he separated the sons of Adam, he established the boundaries of the peoples according to the number of the children of Yahu'ah. For the portion of Yahu'ah is his people, Jacob his allotted inheritance. He found him in a wilderness, and in a wasted howling desert. He encompassed him, he made him understand. He watched over him as the apple of his eye. As an eagle stirs up its nest, flutters over its young, spreading out its wings, taking them up, bearing them on its wings. Yahu'ah alone led him, and there was no strange mighty one with him. He made him ride into the heights of the earth, and he ate the fruit of the fields, and he made him to draw honey from the rock, and oil from the flinty rock, curds from the cattle, and milk of the flock, with fatness of the lambs, and rams of the breed of Bashan, and goats with the choicest wheat. And you drank wine, the blood of grapes. But Yashurun grew fat and kicked. You grew fat, you grew thick. You are covered with fat. So he forsook Yahu'ah, who made him, and scorned the rock of his deliverance. They moved him to jealousy with the foreign. With abominations they provoked him. They slaughtered two demons, not Yahu'ah, mighty ones they did not know, new ones who came lately, which your fathers did not revere. You neglected the rock who brought you forth, and forgot the ale who fathered you. And Yahu'ah saw and despised because of the provocation of his sons and his daughters. And he said, let me hide my face, and let me see what their end is. For they are a perverse generation, children in whom there is no trusting. They made me jealous by what is not ale. They provoked me with their worthlessness, but I make them jealous by those who are no people. I provoke them with a foolish nation, for a fire was kindled in my wrath, and burns to the bottom of Sheol, and consumes the earth and its increase, and the lights on fire the foundations of mountains. I gather evils upon them. I use up my arrows upon them, wasted by scarcity of food, and consumed by heat and bitter destruction. And the teeth of beasts I send upon them, with the poison of serpents and of dust. The sword bereaves from the outside, and the fear from within, both young man and maiden, nursing child with man of gray hairs. I said I should blow them away, I should make the remembrance of them to cease from among men. If I did not fear the enemy's taunt, lest their adversaries misunderstand, lest they say, our hand is high, and Yahu'ah has not done all this. For they are a nation lost to counsel, and there is no understanding in them. If they were wise, they would understand this. They would consider their latter end. How would one chasten 1,000, and two put 10,000 to flight? Unless their rock had sold them, and Yahu'ah had given them up. For the rock is not like our rock, even our enemies are judges. Their vine is of the vine of Sodom, and of the fields of Amorah. Their grapes are grapes of gall, their clusters are bitter. Their wine is the poison of serpents, and the fierce venom of cobras. Is it not stored up with me, sealed up among my treasures? Vengeance is mine and repayment at the time their foot slips. For near is the day of their calamity, and the preparations are hastening to them. For Yahu'ah rightly rules his people, and has compassion on his servants, when he sees that their power is gone, and there is no one remaining, shut up or at large. And he shall say, where are their mighty ones, the rock in whom they sought refuge, who ate the fat of their slaughterings, and drank the wine of their drink offering? Let them arise and help you. Let it be a hiding place for you. See now that I am he, and there is no Yahu'ah besides me. I put to death and I make alive. I have wounded and I heal, and from my hand no one delivers. For I lift my hand to the Shemaim, and shall say, as I live forever, if I have sharpened my flashing sword, and my hand takes hold of judgment, I shall return vengeance to my enemies, and repay those who hate me. I make my arrows drunk with blood, and my sword devours flesh, with the blood of the slain, and the captives from the long-haired enemy chiefs. O nations, acclaim his people, for he avenges the blood of his servants, and returns vengeance to his adversaries. And he shall pardon his land, his people. Then Moshe came with Yahushua, son of Nun, and spoke all the words of this song in the hearing of the people. And when Moshe ended speaking all these words to all of Yisrael, he said to them, lay your heart on all the words with which I warn you today, so that you command your children to guard to do all the words of this Torah. For it is not a worthless word for you, because it is your high, and by this word you prolong your days on the land which you pass over the Jordan to possess. And Yahuwah spoke to Moshe that same day, saying, go up this mountain of the Abram, Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, which is opposite Yarrow, and look at the land of Canaan, which I give to the children of Yashrael as a possession. And die on the mountain which you ascend, and be gathered to your people, as Aaron your brother died on Mount Hor, and was gathered to his people. Because you trespassed against me in the midst of the children of Yashrael, at the waters of Meribah Kadesh, in the wilderness of Sin, because you did not Kadesh me in the midst of the children of Yashrael. For you are to look at the land before you, but not enter there, into the land which I am given to the children of Yashrael. Chapter 33. And this is the Barakah which Moshe, the man of Yahu'ah, barak the children of Yashrael before his death. And he said, Yahu'ah came from Sinai and rose from Seir for them. He stoned forth from Mount Paran, and he came with 10,000 of Kodeshim, at his right hand a law of fire for them. Indeed, he loves the peoples. All his Kodeshim are in your hand. And they sat down at your feet, receiving your words. Moshe commanded us a Torah, an inheritance of the assembly of Jacob. And he was sovereign in Yahushan when the heads of the people were gathered, the tribes of Yashrael. Let Reuben live and not die, let his men be numbered. And this of Yehudah, and he said, Hear Yahu'ah the voice of Yehudah, and bring him to his people. His hands shall fight for him, and you be a help against his enemies. And of Lui he said, Your Tumim and your Urim belong to your kind one, whom you tried at Massa, with whom you contended at the waters of Meribah, who said of his father and mother, I have not seen them, and he did not acknowledge his brothers, nor his own children, for they have guarded your word and watched over your covenant. They teach your right rulings to Jacob, and your Torah to Yashrael. They put incense before you and complete burnt offerings on your altar. O Yahu'ah, barak his strength and accept the work of his hands. Strike through the loins of those who rise against him, and of those who hate him, that they rise no more. Of Benjamin he said, Let the beloved of Yahu'ah dwell in safety by him, shielding him from all the days as he dwells between his shoulders. And of Yosef he said, Barak of Yahu'ah is his land, with the choicest from the Shemayim, with the dew and the deep lying beneath, with the choice fruits of the sun, with the choice yield of the months, with the finest of the ancient mountains, with the choicest of the everlasting hills, with the choicest of the earth and all that fills it, and the good pleasure of him who dwelt in the bush. Let it come on the head of Yosef, and on the crown of the head of him who was separate from his brothers. His splendor is like a firstborn bull, and his horns are like the horns of the wild ox. With them he pushes to the peoples, to the ends of the earth, and they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the thousands of Manasseh. And of Zebulun he said, Rejoice, O Zebulun, in your going out, and Yishakar in your tents. They call peoples to the mountain. There they bring offerings of righteousness, for they draw from the riches of the seas and treasures hidden in the sand. And of Gad he said, Baruch is he who enlarges Gad. He dwells as a lion, and shall tear off the arm, also the crown. And he chose the best for himself, for there the portion of the lawgiver was hidden, and he came with the heads of the people. The righteousness of Yahu'ah he did, and his right rulings with Yashrael. And of Dan he said, Dan is a lion's cub that leaps from Bashan. And Naphtali he said, O Naphtali, satisfied with pleasure and filled with the barakah of Yahu'ah, possesses the west and the south. And of Asher he said, Asher is most Baruch of sons. Let him be accepted by his brothers, and dip his foot in oil. Your sandals are iron and bronze, and your strength as your days. O Yeshurun, there is no one like El, riding in the Shemayim to help you, and on the clouds in his excellency. The Aluah of old is a refuge, and beneath are everlasting arms. And he drives out the enemy from before you, and says, Destroy. Thus Yashrael dwells in safety, the fountain of Jacob alone, in a land of grain and new wine. His Shemayim also drop down dew. Baruch are you, O Yashrael, who is like you, a people saved by Yahu'ah, the shield of your help, and he who is the sword of your excellency. And your enemies are subdued for you, and you tread down their high places. Chapter 34. And Moshe went up from the desert plains of Moab to the Mount Nebo, to the top of Pisgah, which is the opposite of Yero. And Yahuwah showed him all the land of Gilead as far as Dan, and all Naphtali in the land of Ephraim and Manasseh, and the land of Yehudah as far as the western sea, and the Negeb, and the plain of the valley of Yero, the city of palm trees as far as Soor. And Yahuwah said to him, This is the land of which I swore to Abraham, to Ishak, and to Jacob, saying, To your seed I give it. I have let you look at it with your eyes, but you do not pass over there. And Moshe the servant of Yahuwah died there, and in the land of Moab, according to the word of Yahuwah. And he buried him in a valley in the land of Moab, opposite Baeth Peor, and no one knows his burial place to this day. And Moshe was 120 years old when he died. His eyes were not dim, nor his freshness gone. And the children of Yashrael wept for Moshe in the desert plains of Moab 30 days. And the days of weeping and mourning for Moshe were completed. And Yahusha son of Nun was filled with the spirit of wisdom, for Moshe had laid his hands on him. And the children of Yashrael listened to him, and did as Yahuwah had commanded Moshe. And since then no Nabi has arisen in Yashrael like Moshe, whom Yahuwah knew face to face. For all the signs and wonders which Yahuwah sent him to do in the land of Mishrim, before Pharaoh and before all his servants in all his land. And for all that strong hand and all the great fearsome deeds which Moshe did before the eyes of Yashrael.